Welcome, everybody, to the Between Two Wheels podcast. Today, we're talking World Championships. It's upon us. It's in Great Britain, and it's going to be exciting, we hope. World preview today, we're going to go over that. Some riders to watch at World Championships. A new team time trial, mixed gender relay race. We'll talk a little bit about that. Do a little bit on the transfer market. Johan Bruyneel is wrong. That's something we're going to discuss today. Some things that make you go, a little creepy on that one. Some winners and losers. And what did Curt say? All coming up. Episode 145 on the Between Two Wheels podcast. All right, everybody. This is Tyler Janke, your host. We're going to do World Championships, as I said today. It should be pretty exciting. Maybe it won't be, but do you like World Championship? Look, the Grand Tours have been pretty phenomenal this year. The Giro, Carapaz wins that record fashion. First Ecuadorian to win that, and he did it on Team Movistar. He's now moving over to Team Ineos. Then we had the Tour de France, maybe the one of the most exciting Tour de France's in recent history because it came down right till the end. Canceled stages, snowstorms, rainstorms, rock slides. Frenchman in the lead, Frenchman close to the lead. One gets his leg hurt. He's out. I mean, it's crazy stuff. And once again, we have a very young Colombian, Johan Bruyneel, winning that. Then we have the Vuelta a España, Primoz Roglic of Team Jumbo-Visma gets third in the Giro. His teammate gets third in the Tour de France. He comes in, lights it up in the Vuelta a España, the Tour of Spain, and first Slovenian person from Slovenia to win a Grand Tour as well. So it's a lot of firsts this year. Pretty cool. And now we're going to have the World Championships, and we're going to decide who gets to wear that rainbow jersey. Look, second place in the Tour and the Vuelta this year was Alejandro Valverde. He is the reigning world champion. He gets to wear the Stars and Stripes. Little pretext of what's to come on my discussion about Johan Bruyneel. He wears the stars or the rainbow jersey all year, and with that, look, there's been some past instances of people winning the rainbow jersey. They win a world championship. It's kind of a luck of the draw to them, maybe a one-off. Maurizio Fondras, 1988, and he wears the jersey, does nothing really of significance, not only that year, but ever. And then other riders, Valverde, he's in the Grand Tours. He's winning races all year. Cadel Evans was like that. Philippe Gilbert, obviously Cavendish when he had it as well with sprinting, he was winning it. I like to see a Grand Tour contender wearing it because it's pretty cool to see that jersey up and about on the biggest stage of the world, the Tour de France, and kind of the overall in there. But it's also cool when the sprinters get it. Look, the World Championships is pretty unique in that it changes its destination or its place of entry every year. You know, it's been in Richmond, Virginia. It's been in Colorado Springs way back when. It's been over in the Middle East. It's been this year. It's in Great Britain. It's been in Norway. So a lot of different places it's been, and it's a one-day race. It's approximately 150 some miles long, 280 kilometers this year. So it's really puts in, and look, some years it's flat, sprinter stage, I think over in the Middle East when Sagan won it, but a little more choppy and sprinty or jumpy style when they had it in Richmond, Virginia. Sagan wins it over there. And then, last year? Yeah, with Mike Woods and Alejandro Valverde, really cool kicker climb near the end, and came out with some climber guys and Tom Dumoulin chasing for fourth place. So what do we have this year? Well, it looks like it's kind of a medium range type of course for the men. When I say medium, I mean it's not a sprinter's day. Some of the sprinters are going to be able to get over it, those climby ones. It's not a Grand Tour day, but those guys, with the attrition of 150 some miles, it's going to lend itself to be allowable for them as well. And then you have time trials, you have the road race, and it spatters its way through for men, women, juniors, and under 23. So this gets underway tomorrow, September 23rd, with the elite men and women mixed relay team time trial. So look, they've had team time trials before. Back up in case you're new to cycling. Cycling is all team formatted. In the pro ranks, you have a trade team. Think of like you would the football teams or whatever. It's more like maybe Formula One or something where it's all trade team. It's sponsored. It's, basketball, baseball, football, those kind of things are kind of cities, but you have an individual owner. So it's still kind of that, but you're tied to kind of the city. You don't see a lot of, corporate sponsorship with that as far as the team name. You don't. Cycling is all about corporate sponsorship, yet there's a heavy influence of nationality still in cycling. So you always see, riders up in the Tour, but it always shows where they're from in the country. So, but with that, you have riders, on a Team Jumbo-Visma, or we go Ineos, Team Sky of past. And with that, you've got, riders from Great Britain. Sometimes it's dominated by certain countries. If a trade team is licensed in a certain country, movie star in Spain, they've been around 39 years or so, something like that, as long as Alejandro Valverde's been around. But they're licensed in Spain. It's predominantly Spanish. They used to have a Euskaltel team from the Basque Country, and I think all the riders had to be not just Spanish, but had to be of Basque descent or whatever, how you classify that. Anyway, so you do have a few American trade teams in there. Point is, during the race season, you've got the trade teams with a mixed conglomerate of international flavor on a lot of them. But when it comes to world championships, it's all about your country. You now race for your country, and that U.S. has a team, Great Britain has a team, Netherlands have his team, etc. And actually, based on there's a lot of different ranking things they have different throughout the year that you and Olympics I think play into this as well. That you get the number of riders in your squad based on some rankings and how you've done in some pre-qualifying races that they've determined. So some teams, the Italians, the French, they always have Spanish, they always have a pack, the Belgians, they have a maximum number of riders. Sometimes the Americans do not. We'll take a look and see kind of what they have this year. Okay, so we start out with the elite men and women mixed relay team time trial. Like I said, they've had time trials before. Those have been corporate ones. So you have CCC, formerly BMC. They would win this. With that, winning this team time trial, their team would be considered the team time trial world champions, and they get a sticker on their bus. Not much of this. I think it's going to be the same with this one. So they've decided to go away with that, and they're kind of doing this one. What is this, the Hammer series? It's a little bit weird, and let me just read to you kind of what they talk about here, and then we'll go through the schedule of what it is. Teams of riders, 3 women, 3 men, race against the clock. First, the 3 men complete a 14-kilometer circuit, with the women's trio taking over when the second man crosses the line. So, look, I'm a little disappointed that they're not going to have a baton or a helmet pass off, maybe a water bottle, something, because it's a relay, and I understand it's when they cross the line, but come on, let's have a true relay. Let's have them transfer something, maybe a Garmin. That'd be a good idea. They've got to take their head unit off, pass it to the person, and then that can maybe track it. That'd be a good way to do it, the actual GPS. The final time is taken when the second woman, there's 3 women, I remember, crosses the line after completing another 14-kilometer lap, and the fastest combined time determines the winner. All right, so we understand that part. You look at UCI, they put out a little video about it, and their thing at the end, they say, this offers a more gender-balanced format. Who's looking for a gender-balanced format in the World Championships? I don't know. Look, this has the potential to be at least somewhat interesting. I don't know that you give them a world, and once again, much like the sticker on the bus for the team time trial previously, what do you do with this? At least with the teams before, I think they should have been able to, if BMC, in matter wins it, your team is now the world time trial champion. Then if you do a team time trial in any stage race, you get to wear world rainbow jerseys, but that wasn't the case. So this is kind of, I don't know, it's a gimmick in a way, but it'll be interesting to see. And we'll take a kind of a look at some of the teams that are doing it, because not all countries are participating in this one. Look, basketball is an example. All-Star game for NBA they've now done some mixed, it's the men's all-star game, and then they bring some of the women in there and they do mixed, and it's to me it's not so good. But this is a little different because this is not just men's world championships, this is women's world championships too. And I find that this is a little bit different because they're not necessarily mixing it. All they're doing is 3 women do a time trial, 3 men do a time trial, and they're passing the baton virtually in between. So I have much more respect for this than I do like the All-Star Game team stuff. So we'll see how it goes. But that starts off tomorrow. That should be fun. That is 28 kilometers. Like I said, 2 14-mile loops there. Then Monday we started with the junior women time trial, individual time trials, and we do individual time trials Monday. The juniors, both men's and women, do that. Tuesdays, under 23 men and elite women do the time trial. Wednesday, elite men do the time trial. They're the only ones on Wednesday. Thursday, junior men's road race, junior women's road race, under 23 men's road race on Friday, and then Saturday, women and elite women, and then Sunday, a week from tomorrow, on the 29th, the men. So look, just taking a look kind of at the time trials as well. Nothing outrageous in the profiles, not like what we saw in Norway a few years ago where they're doing a loop, at least the men, and then the last bit is they have this nasty little climb up to the finish, which is kind of when we saw Primož Roglič coming in. He did a great time. Tom Dumoulin, I think, won it that year. But Roglič was definitely in the mix, and we're going to probably see him in the mix here as well. So it's not super climby. There's some little profile changes, but for the most part, you're going to have what I see is probably a good, solid time trial champion come out of this. Look, it's also interesting. The men, they just do an out. Well, it's just south. They go down to Harrogate, where the finish is. But the shorter the distance go, and what I mean by that is the women go a little shorter than the men, and then the U23s to the juniors, as they get those down, those courses, they're not the same course. They start doing more, a lot of turns in and around town, and I don't know if they're trying to see how much these juniors can control a bike, but it looks like it's going to be more of that. I mean, there's some twisty turny, almost coming back on each other on the course. So interesting that they, in the worlds, that they don't use a lot of the same courses for different events as they go down. And we'll just look at the time, the distances here. Junior women do 14K. Junior men 28K, U23s 30, elite women 30. So they're probably using and when they do the same days, they're using the same courses. Elite men 54 kilometers, 54K time trial. Could be kind of interesting with that. Then the road race. Well, look, with the road race, the men's is just a big 180 kilometer clockwise kind of a horseshoe. Taken off from Harrogate, and they go north and come back, and then they do 7 loops on this course in there. And some of the others, like the juniors, and the U23s, I think, they come from the south up and do a lot of different stuff. So once again, not hitting the same stuff, although in and around Harrogate, they're probably doing similar loops around there. And like I said, the men's is not like, full sustained. There's some nasty pitches in there. So there's definitely a chance, like let's say, going back, some of the best sprinters in the world, Groenewegen, probably not going to get over this. Sam Bennett, Bora, and by the way, there's some issues with him. He gets over some of these things a little better. Michael Matthews, he can get over this a little better. Gilbert, who just won 2-3 stages at the Vuelta, he can get over this pretty well as well. Pretty good. So, there's some interest there. And we'll see. I just saw today that Geraint Thomas is saying he's not doing the time trial because he's not fit enough, but he is doing the road race. And I think there was someone else that said they weren't going to do, I want to say Valverde, but I don't think that's the truth. Riders to watch. Let's look at the mixed team time trial. We've got Netherlands, Germany, Italy, Denmark, France, Switzerland, Slovenia, Great Britain, Belgium, Spain, and then a World Championships composite team. I mean, there's a Canadian in there, Ben Katterberg, Peter Kellerman. I'm not sure where that. I mean, there's some random countries. Some Israel, Fernanda Yapura. So it's just an interesting composite. It kind of goes against what we're doing on here. Great Britain. You'd think maybe they would have it, but they don't really see anybody on the men's side. John Archibald, Daniel Bigham, Harry Tanfield. So they're taking some. How about Slovenia? Well, Slovenia, you've got Tadej Pogačar, Jaka Primozic, Jan Trantic. He's the one that took out. I want to say Jacob Fuglsang and the Tour. Other than that, I'm not seeing any real big hitters for this. So maybe this is something that's some people are just trying to stay away from. Italy, they don't. Borghini, Longo, she's there, but I'm not seeing Elia Viviani. Okay, he's riding that. David Martinelli. Maybe some of these are getting, hey, this is my chance to ride in World Championships. I'm not going to be selected for anything else. But I don't see any big hitters in any of these. So I could be wrong. Maybe there'll be some change to the start. But that's what we have for now. Okay, women's individual time trial. Look, this is who knows who's going to be getting this, but probably your typical, Belgium, Dutch riders that are going to be taking it out. Chloe Dygert Owens, that's kind of my hope that she comes through with this because she's been on form and been looking really good. So you never know what she could come through. There was a way I could have broken this down by time trial, but we did not take a look at that. So U23 competitors, I don't know some of these too well. Ian Garrison of the United States. I do know a little bit about him. He's pretty strong, so that should be interesting. It'd be nice to finally get some Americans in the time trial or road race. Actually, road race would be really interesting to do. Top competitors for the men's individual time trial. Right now, I'm showing Primoz Roglic, Victor Kampenaerts, Stefan Kung, Patrick Bevin, Dennis Rohan Dennis. We just still don't know what's going on with Rohan Dennis for the year. He's showing up at Worlds. It'll be interesting to see what bike he's riding. Does he get to ride a different bike since it's national teams and not his trade team? That's kind of the question. Jos van Enden, Filippo Gianni, Yves Lampert, Tony Martin, Lawson Craddock, Bob Jungels, Chad Haga. So we got two Americans kind of, and then looking at the rankings and at least the top 13. Alex Dowsett, I don't know. Look, Froome's out. Wiggins obviously doesn't do this event anymore because he's retired and it looks a little overweight for that. Geraint Thomas is out. I don't know who the Great Britain champion would be, or big hope for this one. So I'm probably looking for Roglic and Dumoulin. I don't think he's doing this either. So probably, Roglic this is his chance to finally come through. We saw what he did at the Vuelta, and he can obviously time trial. So maybe he and Kampenaerts, Kampenaerts is the world hour record holder right now. So it will be somewhat interesting to see who comes through with that. Let's take a look at the road race for the women. It's similar to what we just discussed here for the oldest competitor for the women is some lady from Iceland. No, she's 0 days and 0 years old. They have some wrong stats here on some of these things from Pro Cycling. So top competitors based on the rankings. Elise Chabry. This doesn't seem like it's quite right. So I would hope to maybe, where's all the good women listed here? Well, we're going to have to just go to the men. So in the men's road race, look, we know some of the protagonists, and like I mentioned, I think you're looking for a unless a break gets away. The number one ranked rider is Primoz Roglic, Alejandro Valverde, defending champion in third place ranking, Julian Alaphilippe, Greg Van Avermaet, Peter Sagan, and Pogačar. Quintana. I don't know so much about Quintana on this, but Michael Matthews. You got the Yates. Some of these. Look, I'm talking about some of the British riders because one, they're interesting to us. They speak English. We talk. We hear their interviews all the time, but it's in Britain. So Matteo Trentin's another one that. Forgot to mention Matthew van der Poel. So van der Poel, I don't know that he's doing the time trial, but you never know what could come out with him with the time trial. But the road race, I would be fearful of him. He might be if he comes out and wins this, where it's at this point you just might say, let's throw in the towel and be done with it. So anyways, that's kind of your preview on the worlds. I know I'm just going over this, kind of giving an idea of who's out there, who's riding, and what to expect. I don't honestly know what to expect with any of this, but I don't want to see a break succeed. My point is, to reverse back to the comment I made a little bit ago, I like to see a high-end rider win it. It's nothing worse than it's good for that rider to win worlds or like the Olympic road race. It changes their life, but it's not so great, I think, for the sport. And we'll talk about that in a little bit when I say that Johan Bruyneel is wrong, because he does have some good points, but he's incorrect on what we're going to talk about as well. Transfer market. Kelly Alessandre from Trek Segafredo from Ineos. What went wrong with Trek in 2019? Kind of just Cassia Nia Wadama. She signs a 2-year extension with Canyon SRAM. That just makes. I think she's dating. I'm pretty sure she's dating Taylor Phinney. What happened to Taylor Phinney? We heard this last week that to EF Education First was Nilsson Palace. Good for him. Excited to hear that. And what's going on with EF and Taylor Phinney? Does he even race anymore? I don't know. Is he going to be at the Worlds? I didn't see him on the list for the time trial. That would have been kind of interesting. So that's a few that we have on the transfer market. I know EF also signed up a sprinter from Ineos. I'm trying to remember his name. I don't remember, but he's pretty young. He's got some talent, so that should be pretty good for EF. Look, they're trying to solidify themselves. They do have, I worry about Nilsson going there. It just seems like they're kind of a team. Your first reaction when you hear that Nelson's going to EF Education First, you're like, that just sucks. At least that's my reaction. But there are some potential Grand Tour, and look, it's probably the best thing that's ever happened for him. Going to does his first Grand Tour, they win the Vuelta. I mean, that's pretty. He was in the mix of it, and his teammates winning stages. His compatriot Sepp Kuss wins some stages, so that's pretty cool. And it's kind of, maybe it's an experience he may never be able to relive again. Now that he's going to EF Education First, so he's got some experience that some of these other riders will never know. And hopefully he can get up there and either be the person himself or support Higuita, Martinez. You never know about Rigoberto Urán, if he recovers okay. Hugh Carthy, and so we're looking. There's hope that it's going to happen, and hope that he comes through and has a great time with that. Okay, Johan Bruyneel is wrong, and so Johan Bruyneel, who do you know who Johan Bruyneel is? Okay, former pro, before my time. I think he's older than me. Charming DS and such victorious and lovable teams as U.S. Postal Service from 99 to 2007. He was Team Astana 08 to 09. This is just when he was the director. Team Radio Shack from 2010 to 11, and Radio Shack Nissan from 2012. So the wins he got as a director were, and I think at one point too, he also as a rider when he rode for Lotto. He had the fastest recorded stage in the Tour, and I think it was the one that he got on the wheel of Miguel Indurain. It was on a flat section, and it was early part of the Tour, and I don't remember what happened, but somehow, I'm sorry, who did I say? Miguel Indurain. He gets on Indurain's wheel and just holds on. He ends up winning the stage, but he holds on for like the last 20K as Indurain's just blowing everyone out, and they can't chase him down. So anyway, that's kind of what. And he also rode off the cliff the one time in this race, pulls his bike back up. Look for that on YouTube. But point is, as a DS, they won the Giro with Salvadelli in 05, 08 with Contador, won the Vuelta with Contador in 08 again. Roberto Harris in 03. Roberto Harris was DQ'd in 2005 with Liberty Seguros, by the way. Tour de France with Lance Armstrong, 2 with Contador. He's been there, done that, and now he does a podcast with Lance Armstrong on the move, and he's been it with JB Haggard, something like that. One of these other guys, and they did all 3 Grand Tours. Anyway, point is, during the Vuelta, he's got a lot of good insights if you can get past the cringe factor of who he is. But during the Vuelta, he was talking about teams, and he was talking about world championships, and he made some comments, one of which I don't agree with, And so I'm going to play here some of his comments and kind of give you an idea of what, and then disagree with some of it. So let's just take a listen here of Johan Bruyneel on the move.
And you've got me more interested in Worlds now, more than ever.
Well, the World Championships. I mean, I have a very, very strong opinion on that. It's not one that the UCI is going to like, but I think personally that the World Championships ridden by national teams, it's not of this world anymore in cycling. Well, first of all,
pause right there. So, World Championships riding with national teams is not of this world anymore. I agree actually with that. It's a little odd. We just mentioned it a little bit ago. It's a little odd to have World Championships. You're on your trade team all the time. These guys get paid, mostly these top ones, a lot of money all year long. These sponsors put in millions and millions of, do I say euros and dollars, all year long to have these teams. And then you go off for this one race. It's this huge, big deal put on by the UCI, and it's only put on you, and you ride your national kit. That's a little bit much. I think that part can change, and you can still be world champion. So that part, Johan, you're starting out okay. I would agree with you on that, but let's continue.
I think the World Championships shouldn't be the way they are, because like Valverde, for example, he's the world champion. And yes, Valverde is a great rider, and he's probably one of the best riders in the world. But sometimes, the World Championships is a race which is owned by the UCI, right? And it's one day. And if you win that one day, you are the world champion. You get the rainbow jersey for the whole year, which means that you are the world champion for 1 year by winning one race. That's not necessarily the best rider in the world. I think the rider who
All right, I'm gonna stop there. So look, he's saying you win a race, a 1 day race, you're crowned world champion. That is not necessarily the best rider in the world. And I made points of that, and how it's you get some of these one-offs that are not the world champion, and kind of I get it, but it's still a world championship event, and I'll kind of let him go here, and then I'm gonna squeeze in some of my more disagreeing points.
Who is world champion should be the rider who's number one in the ranking of all the big races at the end of the year, gets the title of world champion at the end of the year, and gets to wear the World Championships jersey for the whole year until the end of the next year. It doesn't need to be. It cannot be, in my opinion. It's not logical that it's just one race, and the guy who wins that one race is world champion. That's the first part of my strong stand on why the World Championships are not the way they should be. And then secondly, riding it by national teams is something which is a big challenge and should not be the case, because how can you ask, all these riders, just because they're from the same country, that they work for somebody who will maybe win the World Championships and get the title, and then use and wear that jersey while riding with his team the rest of the year against these guys, because they're another team. So,
all right. So basically they're riding with the team for the whole year, and then you have your national jerseys, and you've got to overcome that and do that. It's always been a weird thing, and this is kind of a moneymaker for the UCI. So this is kind of, I don't know if this is their way of kind of eliminating teams in there, of being able to kind of circumvent some of this so that all the money's for them. I don't know if that's the case, but he does have a good point there, and I wouldn't mind seeing it change. And I'm going to come back to kind of how the whole idea is with world champions, and how that is manufactured as far as how we think of a world champion, because this is where he's going to go wrong. He's going to go off the rails here shortly, but let's resume.
That does really not make sense to me. And it's obviously it's something that that the UCI will hold on to, because it's a big source of revenue for them. But it really makes no sense. I think you can organize world championships for amateur teams, with national teams. But for professional cycling, I think the World Championships is out of date. It's outdated. It's not from this. It's not from this era anymore, and it shouldn't be even. It shouldn't be even a race. I think. I think it would be very simple to say, we have a classification, and there are rankings. UCI ranking, the World Tour ranking of all the races over the whole year, and I don't know who's first now, but that's in theory. I think it's Alaphilippe actually who's still first. I mean, at least before the Vuelta, he was first. That should be the world champion. It's very simple. It in other sports it's the case, and there's a lot of other sports where the world champion is the winner of the ranking at the end of the year, at the end of the season.
It's a very good argument. Now I don't want to watch the World Championship. You completely turned me around.
Well, it's an interesting race.
All right. So the last thing he said, there's other sports. He thinks there should be a ranking system, and other sports, the winner, the world champion is the winner of the rankings at the end of the season. Okay, that's my big thing. What sport is that? I'm waiting. He didn't give any proof as to that. I've looked at, look, I don't know all the weird European sports. There's those ones UCI has where they're doing acrobatic cycling, handball, but that's not the case. You don't have, we'll even step back just into kind of the American side here. You have baseball, basketball, football. You have rankings all season long. What do those rankings do? They get you in to the playoffs. And when they're done, I'm sorry, I've had this disagreement with Neil Rogers of Cycling Tips online before. Baseball, he's like, it's not the world champions because there's other countries have theirs, so not other. And I'm like, okay, but everyone comes to like baseball. Everyone comes to the U.S. If you are a good player, that's your place to race. It's like the Tour de France. They call it, like the World Championships of cycling. Okay, but we do have a World Cycling. I digress here. But you think of those ones, the rankings are simply qualifying you for the playoffs. So I don't know of any sport where they take the rankings at the end of the year and they say, you're the world champion. They don't do that. There's other things, even MVPs or something, but sometimes it's like Prestige League or something where they used to have that in cycling. They had a ranking, and at your top of the ranking, you get a special jersey to wear. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a world champion. And in most, I think it's the exact opposite, Johan. In almost every sport, the world champion is the one that at the end of the playoffs is the winner. And it could be the last ranked team in the playoffs. You can be the worst team all season long that makes it to the playoffs and then be the world champion. That happens. It's more difficult. Think of we have NCAA basketball, same thing. You're not the number one ranked team. You don't just award them. And he's even talking about this of world champion. We think about the Olympics. At the Olympic events, you have qualifying events at the Olympics in your speed skating or swimming, and then they have multiple heats until you have the final heat and you're the winner. It's not, because by his definition, if you just had a ranking, you would be considered world champion. You can be considered number one rider in the world. But this is world championships. So by his own definition, why even have like Olympics as an example? You just have the number one riders, just give them the top top whatever qualifiers. You give them a medal. You don't even have a competition, because here's the point. The world champion exceeds at that race on that day and under that pressure. And that's what we have here. So it's not what he says of, and look, I'm nitpicking a little bit, and I know he has his issues with the UCI, but my problem with him was his example of no other sports do this. As a matter of fact, every sport does this, and every sport is exactly opposite. You provide me, and I'm sure there's one out there, provide me where it's different, where you're crowned the world champion of your sport without having to do a single event that gets you there. It's usually that's the way it is. But you've got to be good all season long, and that's kind of the way this is going. It's leading up to it. You're preparing for Worlds, blah blah blah. But look, he does have some points. It's not completely wrong about the national thing, but personally, I kind of like that. There's still a little bit that's interesting about cycling where it's very nationalistic still, and so you get some of this, but from a person who understands the corporate side of it it also is a little different. Look, I heard David Miller talking about Worlds, and he was saying how gratifying it was and how interesting it was to go there and to race under your national flag. And part of, there's problems with it too. And this is probably where Johan's coming from, is the issue with, as a DS, you're all sending a new kit. It's more difficult. And there's some other problems there, but, look, should we continue this? I think so. We can restructure it maybe to be all the corporate sponsors for the men's and women's, and then maybe have the issue where the lower categories are under their national flag. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Give me your feedback on that. What you think? Maybe a sport out there, handball or something else, some Euro sport that they do that would contradict what I said. But other than that, I stand by what I have. Okay. How about some things that make you go, Okay. This one, Michael Eisner creeps his way into the news. Who's Michael Eisner? Michael Eisner is one of the heads of the, former Coors Classic race director, faces charges over allegations he used hidden camera to record guests in his Boulder, Colorado home. The mugshot is exceptional. It's not quite Gary Busey exceptional, but he definitely looks like a creeper. So basically, the Boulder Camera reports out here that he's 70 years old. He's still involved in cycling, announcers and some other things here. That he has a spy camera in his room, and different races stuff. Some cyclists will be over there, and he'll say, "Hey, take a shower in my shower," and he does so. And then he films him. Someone said, "Hey, it looked like there was a camera." They reported to the police. He denied it all, but then there was some inquiries about him trying to delete this off an SD card, asking how to do it, how to delete this. Dude, throw it in the trash. And then they found videos on his, and look, they were all men, so that's kind of his thing. Whatever. So the question is, should he be banned from cycling forever? Because he's taken in, presumably younger males here, trying to help them out. Filming them against their will and against their knowledge, total invasion of privacy. He's only out on $2,500 bail, so obviously they don't think it's that big of a deal, but that'd creep me out a little bit, dirty old man. And, I know Lance Armstrong did some egregious things in cycling, like got, lawsuits and cheated and everything, but this is a creepy old dude, and I've often said we get so mad at Lance, and I just talked about Johan, both some guys that I think help ruin cycling. However, I think they've also set it up. They went so over the top with what they did that the pendulum has swung back a little bit, quite a bit, to where I think young riders aren't in them. They're not influenced to be doing these things like they were then. So, and in some sort of way, they've helped. But this dude is just full on creep, and kind of like Jonathan Boyer, how we talked about. But I'm sure he'll be announcing a race. Maybe they'll allow him to do women's racing because they don't feel like he's such a threat to everything else here. Winners and losers. I'm going to call my local winner, and I talked to him today on the ride, Cole Davis. Cole Davis comes out, does the tour. He let me know that he did the race down in Columbia. He did the Tour California, and he did the Tour Utah. That race in Columbia, everyone was there. I think Froome was there, Bruyneel was there, Iran was there, Quintana. I mean, those crowds are crazy. We'll try to talk to him this year as well. But he ends up doing that first year, doing a bunch of these big races. Comes back from Utah and does a trifecta of Winter's Road Race, San Francisco Grand Prix, and then he wins Oakland. I think Oakland was last week or so. So congrats to him. He's my winner because we're talking about the Worlds here, and then we'll see who the winner is of the Worlds. Losers, Michael Eisner. We'll say he's the big loser. And actually, the loser in this situation is, and not a winner, is all those guys that got their junk filmed, and they found all this stuff on his computers too. So creeped to him, and anyway, that's what we have. All right, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us for the Between Two Wheels podcast. I've been your host, Tyler Janke, episode 145. As always, subscribe, share the show via iTunes, Stitcher, Podbeam. Check us out on our YouTube channel as well, Between Two Wheels podcast. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, B2W_podcast. We'll try to do some updates about the World Championships. I'm out of the country on Wednesday through the next week, so I'll try to be able to to view it as well as I can from the beach in an undisclosed location. But thanks everyone, and until next time, keep it safe.